Dune 2. It's an amazing movie. I like the movie, but it's not perfect as everybody makes it seem. It doesn't have that many flaws, but it does. The flaws it does has is pretty big in my opinion, and I do think Dune is a good movie. I think Dune is like a solid 8.5 out of 10. I don't think it's a bad movie at all. It's just not as good as I would like a movie to be. And that don't mean there's nothing inherently wrong with the movie. It's just like certain movies I require 10, like Lord of the Rings. Like every character in that movie I like. Same thing with Avengers. I like every character. And only in Dune, there's only like maybe five characters I like, which is the main character. Um, I don't even know half their names, but main character Zendaya, the main character's mom, and the my favorite character, the new warrior that gets introduced, the main character's cousin. And I'll probably be saying I don't know a lot of their names. I can barely name any character, which is fine. I don't discredit that from the movie. Like the guy that always hypes up the main character, I don't know his name, but I still think he's an amazing character. I guess I'll talk about the stuff that I like first. The most One of my favorite things about the movie is the length of it. I have no problem with movies being long. I mean, my favorite movie trilogy of all time is Lord of the Rings. After that has to be Avengers, Infinity War, Endgame, Winter Soldier, Civil War, all that good stuff. And their movies are long. And the reason I like long movies is because they don't have to rush. This movie wasn't rushed. At sometimes the movie felt slow, but I'd rather have moments in this movie be slow than it feel rushed. I know they spent like what was it, maybe 35 minutes of the movie on a training monologue, which is basically what it was. He spent 35 minutes of the movie training to become an Iraqian, I think it's called, and then plot, and then they move the story pretty quick, which is pretty good. The first 50 minutes of the movie is pretty much just slow paced. The rest of the movie is the best part of the movie. And the reason, like, my favorite two characters in this movie, uh, three characters, I think they're all equal, is the mom, the main character, and I don't know his name, but he's the bald headed guy that got introduced. I'll put a picture up that got introduced in fall. Even though he was in the movie for about, it felt like 20 minutes, every 20 minutes he was on screen was amazing. The reason these characters were done so well is because them characters you saw their point of views. Every time you saw a different character other than the three I just named, it was always from the main character's point of view, so you never really got attached to him. And like in the Avengers, you see Iron Man, you see Captain America, you see Winter Soldier from every one of their point of views, which makes you feel like there's three main characters than just one main character and some side characters. I mean, the mom in this movie really killed her role. Every time she was on screen, it was not wasted. Same thing with the bald headed guy they introduced. These characters were these characters were amazing. I mean, I have no problem with them at all. And yeah, sorry, I don't know a lot of these characters' names because honestly, I didn't really care for their names. They more felt like roles they played. But the guy that returned, he was like under the king. I have a picture of him up. I know he's not a memorable character, but he's a character that I wish we had more of, or at least from his point of view. He just felt like he was fitting the role of a soldier that was loyal. I didn't really care about him that much. He was cool, but he wasn't on the level of the top three characters I named. And that's probably another issue. I mean, I said I was gonna name everything good, but that's probably another issue. Is that Dune feels like it has 30 characters, but at the end of the movie, I really only cared about three. Or I don't know how many characters they really have. You have the guy that's as is written. You have Zendaya's character. You have the guy that floats around. You have the soldier guy that's under the main character. You also have the grandmother that also has the voice. You have Zendaya's friend, and there's some other characters too. You got Batista character. I mean, there's a lot of characters in this movie. You got the daughter of I forgot her, I don't know her name, but the princess that gets with the main character in the movie. You have her. This movie has a lot of characters, but the problem is I don't really care about 90% of them. They're good characters, but the problem is they're not good enough for me to remember other than the top 3. And I don't think that was it wasn't bad writing. It was just necessarily that in order for me to care, the movie was already 2 hours and 45 minutes. And the 2 hour 45 minutes that they did spend, they spent it on the characters that really did matter. I wish Zendaya character really meant more. She was one character that was on screen for a lot of time that I really didn't care she was on screen for. It was cool to see her, but she didn't. Even by the end of the movie, I really didn't care for Zendaya's character. She was just another plot, in my opinion. She wasn't bad. I just wish she was done better. She sums it up. She was just a love interest to the main character. She didn't really have a character. I don't know anything about Zendaya's character other than the fact that she loves the main character. Like the mom, the mom has is a different race. She drinks the water of life. She was talking about choosing the right side. She went on a whole journey through with the main character through number one. And another thing, I mean, it's another good thing I like about Dune is all the unanswered questions about the world. I don't. People say Dune is going to be a trilogy. I haven't seen that being confirmed anywhere. I don't think Dune should be a trilogy. There's so much more. There's so much you can do, and plus the things that people are saying are in the book. I don't see how you can fit Dune into three movies. You still have the earthworms. You have 90% of the world. People are fucking in orbit. So I don't. I'm glad that there's still a mystery. I'm glad there's questions to be answered without having it be stupid or lost in a plot or bad writing. And another problem, but I wouldn't. This is more of a personal problem. I don't think this has anything to do with the movie. The story is very hard to digest. I mean, it's very hard to figure out what the fuck is going on. One moment you're looking at someone trying to walk through sand, and then the next moment you're looking at the enemies getting ready for an army, saying fucking foreign languages, and you're just lost. Which I wasn't lost during the movie. It was no, I lost track, and then I got back on track throughout the movie. I don't think that was bad writing though. Maybe I'm just slow and couldn't keep on track. Like I get that the main character, I don't know his name. I don't know how to know the main character's name, but I think his name is Duke. But I think his name is Duke or Paul. Anyway, his name is Paul. Okay, I thought it was Paul, but one time he says his name is Duke Aragnis. I think that was like his future name or his vision name, but I'm gonna go by Paul. That's what I thought his name was. But like once Paul drank the water, the movie got insanely crazy in terms of how to follow. And this is one problem I have with the movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like the movie spent in 40 minutes building up Paul's character to not want power, to not want to lead the people. So you're spending 40 minutes believing he's going to do one thing. And immediately, in like 10 seconds, he throws all that away. Everything the movie built up for his character, it immediately throws it away. Now, maybe in the books, I don't know. I haven't read the movie, so I'm going off the movies. Maybe in the future, it's some kind of plan, but it feels like they spent 40 minutes. Oh, Paul isn't want power. Paul loves his girl. Paul doesn't want to do this and that. He doesn't want to kill. Immediately throws that away once he drinks the water of life. And I get it. Maybe it controls him. Maybe he has no choice. Or maybe in his visions, this is the best choice. But the movie doesn't explain that, so, I'm left blind. And I'm gonna be honest. I know you've probably seen a lot of people hyping the movie up, but I'm gonna say that the first 40, maybe even 50 minutes of the movie was pretty much a snooze fest. It was just a training monologue for the longest time. Nothing happened in the first 50 or 40 minutes of the movie. The moment he drinks the water of life is the moment the movie actually turns from like a 6 out of 10 to easily a 9. And that's probably my biggest flaw with it is that no one's mentioning that the end of the movie carried hard. I know a lot of people. If you've seen the movie, the first half of the movie is not nearly as good as the ending half. The ending half is a lot of wow moments. You do get the new character introduced. I don't know when he gets introduced. I remember, but I'm pretty sure it's in the second half of the movie. And even he's killed off in this movie. I'm definitely gonna put spoilers. Another thing I'm gonna give credit to this movie on. I know it's all over the place. Credit, discredit, credit. The way this movie looks, it looks good for a movie set in the desert. and a few other places, it looks pretty good. I mean, the scenery of the shots they choose looks pretty good. 90% of this movie is just screenshots, and it's amazing. It's amazing how many screenshots and what's it called, visual pieces they got. And I'm gonna stand on when I say I do think Dune is a little overrated. I get it. Dune's an amazing movie. But why does Star Wars and Lord of the Rings have to be bad for Dune to be good? I don't think Dune is anywhere near Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. But when you hear someone say that Dune isn't nowhere near Lord of the Rings or Star Wars, people take it as you're discrediting Dune. I'm not discrediting Dune. I'm just holding Lord of the Rings and Star Wars to a pedestal that I think the last movie to touch it was probably Endgame or Infinity War or maybe even the Back to the Future trilogy. I hope the movie is up to a higher standard than most movies in fiction. When I say that Star Wars and Dune are not on the same level, it's not that I'm discrediting Dune at all. I give the movie 8.5, and it could easily be the next movie could easily be a 10 if they answer a lot of the questions I have. If they answer a lot of the questions I have. And on the next movie, I hope they do a better job on getting me to like 90% of the characters that they're force you to show, other than the mom, the main character, and the bald headed character that they showed that was a warrior. I don't really care about the rest of the cast. Zendaya character is all right, but she just plays a love interest. She doesn't have her own character. The big bad guy that floats around, I don't really know what he is. He's just a bad guy. And Batista character, just another bad guy. The guy that works under Dune, I mean Paul, his right hand man, he's just a soldier. They don't really have any character. I don't know nothing about him. Like the mother, I know so much about her. She's diverse. She talks to her baby, which is fire. She talks to what's it called? Grandmother through telepathy, I think it's called, which is fire. You find out she's a different race than what they thought they were, which is amazing. Plus, she's never turned her back on the main character. She's a ride or die for her son. She is an amazing character. Plus, she can fight. She's a 10 out of 10 character, and she deserves her screen time. I mean, there's another character, the princess of the daughter of the old guy. I like her character a lot too. I think she was on screen every time she was on screen. I loved it. Problem is, she didn't have enough. She was like a mystery character that I was like, oh damn, she's here. I need to listen up. But she was barely on screen. But I don't complain about it. I don't think she was underused or even not used perfectly. I think she had just the right amount of screen time for the next movie to be like, okay, you can explain her. And that's really what I hope the next movies do is that they just give characters and answer a lot of questions I have. Like my biggest question is what does the sandworms have to do with the story? I get it, they're there, but will they ever be able to tame them? Will they lose control? What is spice? Because that's nothing. Throughout the movie, they're fighting over spice. Halfway through the movie, they just abandon spice and it becomes a race war. Or it's not really a race war, but it's more like a clan war. Basically, it's like this group versus that group versus that group. They all fight for spice, and the next you know, it feels like they just abandoned the reason they fight for spice. And now you got one group fighting for freedom. I didn't have a problem with that, but they just, what is spice? Why do so many people want it? What happens? Is there anybody who don't want it? Is there anybody who has a lot of it? Do sandworms want it? So what happens? It's just a lot of questions I have. And that's not a bad thing because this movie answered a lot of questions I had from the first movie. And that's what sequels do. You answer movies from the previous sequel or you just do a better job of what you did in the first movie. And I don't want this to come off as I hate Dune because I think Dune is probably the best movie we had since Spider-Man Homecoming and it's not even close. I think Dune is the best movie is in a league of its own since Spider-Man was it No Way Home, I mean. Dune is the best movie we've had since No Way Home. And I think that says a lot because there's been like fucking almost 100 movies released since No Way Home. And I like fiction movies that there's nothing wrong with Dune as a whole, But when you take Dune and then you compare it to something like Lord of the Rings, you're making Dune. I can't see how Dune is ever going to be that good. No, let me say that wrong. I do think Dune 3 could be as good as Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or maybe one of the best movies of all time because Dune 3 has a chance to answer a lot of questions, get a lot of stuff done, and show shit that action, because you don't need a training monologue anymore. You don't need to introduce another 30 characters. So Dune 3 just has a clean slate to just show a lot of action, a lot of backstory, a lot of new characters, a lot of enemies. You can focus on stuff that you couldn't do in this movie because the characters are established now. So I won't say that Dune doesn't have a chance to be one of the best trilogies of all time. I'm just saying Dune 2 by itself is nowhere near Lord of the Rings. But Dune 3 has a chance based off what Dune 2 left on. And for instance, like let's not like for instance, I'm about to make another comparison. Don't take this as I'm hating Dune. I gotta keep repeating that because people think if you're downplaying Doom, you're hating it. But for instance, to be one of the greatest movies of all time, I think you have to make every character in your movie likable. Such as in Lord of the Rings, there's probably only like two characters, and that's if. But there's probably about two characters in Lord of the Rings that does not have a fan base. Other than that, every character that has touched the screen in Lord of the Rings, people love. Same thing with Star Wars. If you can make RDD2 and Chewbacca some of the most iconic characters of all time, I think that says a lot about your writing. The Han Solo, he was so good that people thought he that they made his own solo movie, even though people didn't like it. But that's what I'm saying. That every character that touches these screens, people like. I can't say that with Dune. I can't say every character in Dune was a 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 character. Maybe 5 of them was. 3 of them was memorable. And that's my biggest problem with it. But I don't I don't think Dune is bad. That's the thing. I don't think Dune is bad. I just don't like it to be compared. Dune can be good without Star Wars having to be bad. But that's all. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you.